Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 26th of September. India-U.S. review bilateral defense cooperation, agree to dismantle infrastructure supporting terrorism. Bailable arrest warrants issued for Pakistan's former Premier Sharif's children. And Rohingyas in Bangladeshi camps set up shops to make their own living. And now for all the details, Indian Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and U.S. Defence Secretary James Mattis on Tuesday held delegation-level talks in New Delhi. Both the countries agreed to enhance their military ties and work closely to eradicate the global threat of terrorism.
India and the United States agreed to dismantle infrastructure that supports terrorism in New Delhi on Tuesday. U.S. Defence Secretary James Mattis, who arrived in India on a two-day visit on Tuesday, held delegation-level talks with Indian Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Both the leaders held progress in bilateral defence cooperation and discussed maritime security in Indian Ocean and the Afghanistan issue. They also addressed a joint conference and recognized the global threat of terrorism.
The situation in our neighborhood and the growing menace of cross-border terrorism were discussed in depth. There is growing convergence in the approaches of both our countries on this issue. We both recognize the importance of holding those who use terrorism as an instrument of state policy to account and to dismantle the infrastructure that support terrorism.
Mattis said both India and the United States have suffered losses due to terrorism and his country intended to work closely with New Delhi to eradicate terrorism. Both the countries have accused Pakistan for providing safe haven to militants in the past.
There can be no tolerance of terrorist safe havens. As global leaders, India and the United States resolve to work together to eradicate this scourge.
Mattis' visit is aimed at deepening military ties, including potential sale of U.S. jet fighters and surveillance drones. Earlier in the day, Mattis also paid tribute to Indian soldiers killed during World War I at India Gate Memorial in New Delhi.
Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday launched a $2.5 billion project to electrify all the households of the country by the end of 2018. Termed Saubhagya Yojana, the aim of the project is to provide 24/7 electricity to every household.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday launched Pradhan Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana or Saubhagya Yojana, a $2.5 billion project to electrify all the country's households by the end of 2018 in capital New Delhi. The project aims to improve the environment, public health, education and connectivity with the help of last-mile power connections in the country. It will also help reduce the use of kerosene lamps in non-electrified households.
प्रधानमंत्री सहज बिजली हर घर योजना यानी कि सौभाग्य योजना के तहत सरकार देश के हर ऐसे घर, चाहे वो गांव में हो या शहर में हो या झुग्गी झोपड़ी में हो, दूर दराज वाले इलाके में हो, उस घर को बिजली कनेक्शन से जोड़ने का आज हम संकल्प करके आगे बढ़ते हैं.
The scheme will provide subsidy on equipments like transformers, meters and wires and primarily benefit rural areas which have the vast majority of households without power connections. The provinces will need to complete the electrification by December 2018 and the government will identify those eligible for free electricity connections across the country. The project will be mostly funded by the federal government and run by the province-run Rural Electrification Corp Limited.
India on Monday gave a stinging response to Pakistan breaking up the issue of Kashmir. Exercising its right to reply, India responded to Pakistan's permanent envoy to the United Nations, who passed off a Palestinian victim's photo as evidence of atrocities on Kashmiris.
respond to the statement made.
Exercising its right to reply, India on Monday slammed Pakistan for using a fake picture in the United Nations General Assembly to push a completely false narrative. This comes a day after Pakistan's permanent representative Maliha Lodi presented an image of a girl from Gaza as a victim of pellet guns in Kashmir. Indian diplomat Paulami Tripathi displayed two photographs. One Lodi's photo of the Palestinian girl, which she termed as fake photo, another of a photo of martyred Indian Army officer Lieutenant Umar Fayyaz. Fayyaz was abducted and killed by terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir's Shopian district in May.
This is a true picture. It portrays a harsh and tragic reality, a picture of terrorism emanating from across our borders that the people of India, especially in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, have to struggle with every day. This is the reality which the permanent representative of Pakistan sought to obfuscate.
Earlier on Sunday, Pakistan's Lodi, in her right to reply to Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj's speech at the UN, tried to pass off the picture of a girl with pellet injuries on her face as the evidence of atrocities on Kashmiris.
Moving on to news from Pakistan, the National Accountability Bureau Court on Tuesday decided to indict Pakistan's ousted Premier Nawaz Sharif on October 2nd in corruption references filed against him. The court also issued bailable arrest warrants against his children for failing to appear before the court.
Pakistan's ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on Tuesday appeared before a National Accountability Bureau or NAB court in connection with corruption references filed against him. The Accountability Court ordered that the former Premier will be indicted on October 2nd. The court also issued bailable arrest warrants for Sharif's daughter Maryam, his son-in-law and his two sons for failing to appear before the court despite two earlier summons. The Accountability Court had filed 3 references on September 8 against Sharif and his children and 1 against Finance Minister Ishaq Dar on the directions of the Supreme Court. Earlier this month, the court had also issued a bailable arrest warrant against Dar for failing to act in accordance with summon issued against him. Dar was granted bail after he appeared before the court on Monday and submitted a surety bond worth 1 million rupees.
In news from Afghanistan, Police Chief of Afghanistan's southern Kandahar province has said that Pakistan has big plans for Afghanistan. He alleged that Pakistan has established large insurgent training camps on both sides of the Durand Line and have stationed militants along the de facto border.
Police Chief of Afghanistan's southern Kandahar province, General Abdul Raziq, on Monday said that Pakistan has established large insurgent training camps on both sides of the Durand Line. He also said that Pakistan has stationed militants along the de facto border. He accused Pakistan of supporting, equipping and training insurgents and called on international community to increase pressure on Islamabad.
Pakistan سره لرو یا د ایران سره د ټول د دې په لاس کې ولويږي او د دې ځای څخه د حکومت ځای په کېدم د دې کې د معدن او د قاچاق او نور جنګونه ټول شان د لاس راوړي د کولای شي چې دلته تورستان ته شت د تعلیم تربیه مرکزونه برابر کړي.
Afghanistan's chief executive Abdullah, who was in Kandahar to launch a new solar power project, said that insurgent safe havens should be destroyed in the region. Meanwhile, Afghan Foreign Minister Salahuddin Rabbani on Monday said that the country has been suffering due to the terrorism and extremism exported by neighboring Pakistan across the border for decades. He made the statement at the United Nations Security Council's open debate on Afghanistan.
The Nepal Parliament on Monday passed the Civil Code Bill and the Civil Procedure Code Bill, heralding sweeping reforms in the country's civil law, including equal rights to sons and daughters and parental property. The Civil Code Bill will allow women the right to use their father's surname, the surname of their mother or husband, or both surnames. The bill also gives a divorcee the right to use the property she received from a former husband, even if she remarries. If a divorcee dies, her property will be passed on to her children. In case she has no children, the property received from her former husband will be returned to the same person and other property to her maternal family. The two bills will come into force on August 17th next year. Moving on to news from Bangladesh, Rohingya refugees in bid to make their own living are setting up small shops in Bangladesh's Cox's Bazar. Rohingyas adopted homes in the neighboring country after fleeing a military offensive in Myanmar on August 25th.
Rohingya refugees are setting up small shops inside a makeshift camps in Bangladesh Cox's Bazar. They are selling vegetables and other items to earn their living in the newly adopted home. Rohingya shopkeepers are getting the product supplies from nearby wholesale markets. The violence in Myanmar's western Rakhine province has left thousands of Rohingyas flee their homes and live in dire conditions. The violence on August 25th started when Rohingya insurgents attacked around 30 police posts and army camp, killing around 12 people.
One of the old means of earning livelihood, the horse carriages in India's northern Amritsar city are now on decline. The century-old business in the city now depends only on tourists for profit.
Horse carriages, one of the oldest means of transport and earning livelihood in India's northern Amritsar city, are now on decline. Commonly known as Tonga, the carriages have century-old history but are now fading away with the advent of faster mode of transportations. The business of horse carriages have been taken away by fuel-guzzling cars, buses, auto rickshaws and more recently the battery-operated e-vehicles.
ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਟਾਂਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਕਸਪਾਇਰ ਕੋਈ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਤਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਕੁਝ ਮਸ਼ੀਨਰੀ ਯੁੱਗ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਵਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟਾਂਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਫੇਲ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਵਾ
Every year, hundreds of tourists visit the holy city where Sikh shrine of Golden Temple is located. And the business of horse carriages now only depends on the tourists. Coachmen say there were about 500 carriages about 40 years ago in Amritsar alone. And now only about 20 to 25 are left.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.